I said I did want to talk Tua. And I'm looking at the feedback, and everyone's saying, man, Rich, you're right. That's all I'm seeing so far, at least. So if you disagree, my thought was
that he's not worth 4 years, $212.
I mean,
then why do you think they paid him that?
167 guaranteed. We're talking to a guy 2 seasons ago that was gyrating on the floor, and we thought he might have been seriously injured. He's had some,
I
major
know,
health scares.
I think everybody knows where you're coming from, but then I ask you, then why would they pay him that much? Does it go back to your analogy of Love Island? Because then who do they get? They need somebody?
It's like Love Island, perfect match, Bachelor in Paradise. What happens is it comes rose time or elimination time, and if you don't have someone, you're kicked off the island. And in this analogy, the postseason is the island. So it's like, well, I mean, Tua could get us to the postseason. We don't want to start from scratch, and we said that's the same situation.
But then I say,
Jordan Love has the Packers.
Didn't your 49ers prove that you don't really need to overpay for a quarterback to get some good results if you have a great system and if you can make it work? So I think they're paying him because they believe in the guy.
And listen, Mike McDaniel is cut from the Kyle Shanahan cloth of systems, a very similar, fast-moving, going in all directions offense. So
you also made it seem that Tua didn't have options. I think that he did. I think a team. I mean, I was just thinking about the Vikings before. You think they're really banking on Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy? You don't think they would have been interested in Tua? There's a lot of teams that would have been interested.
Dan Byer, let me ask you, being not to put you on the spot, but can you think of any teams that would have been itching for a scratch of Tua? Do you know anyone that would have been like, man, the Miami's balking on him?
If no one wanted him, then
get him.
Then it's odd that they were willing to give him 4 years, $212.
I think that there's a third of the league that would always look towards,
take a peek.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you're the Giants, would you rather have Daniel Jones or Tua Tagovailoa?
Yeah, there's always going to be a handful of
Giants.
teams. Right.
I was thinking about the Giants too.
Yeah. Just as you said, just off the top of my head, if you're Pittsburgh right now, would you rather have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, or would you rather have Tua in that scenario?
Yeah, but to pay him $53, it really is next guy up, like we've talked about for the last couple of years. He's now the third highest quarterback being paid, only behind Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually look at it like, if you're the Dolphins, would you rather have Tua or Dak? And I like Dak. I actually really, really do like Dak, and there are people who are not big Dak fans.
Well, I think Dak, you know what it is? I'll give you an analogy. You ever get linked with people? Like, I feel like because Dak's a Cowboy, he gets more flack.
Yeah.
Like, if he were on another team, I think he'd be respected more, but people love to just bust on the Cowboys and, the Cowboys, another losing season.
Without
Stephen A. laughing with his Cowboy hat. I think Dak, unfortunately, pays the price of being a Cowboy sometimes.
He gets clowned and his stats are overlooked, and simply because of that.
And the only reason I bring it up is because Dak is entering the final year of his contract. And so, like, if you were the Dolphins and you were really, could the Dolphins have done what the Cowboys have done and are doing with Dak and letting him play it out and seeing how things work and move on from there? Like, that could have been an option. It's not like if Dak was available, and I do think that his name is important here because of him not being under contract with Dallas. It's just more of, all right, the Dolphins, you do have other options out there. Like, there could be another option for you outside of Tua. Most years, there's not. Most years, there's not another quarterback out there, so you're kind of resigned to paying your guy.
Does that make Jordan Love the next highest paid if we just keep moving in this pattern?
I actually, you guys mentioned Purdy, and I just find Purdy is so intriguing.
Oh, right.
Like in terms of this scenario. So to your point, I think Jordan Love is next, but where does Purdy go in all of this? Where do his numbers line up? Because Tua's numbers really lined up favorably with Jared Goff's deal that he did with the Lions.
Yeah.
So
Brock Purdy
Rich has been wondering about this.
I'm so intrigued because
months.
as a Niners fan, you said it the other day, Dan, that the last couple of years have been like, it's got to be this year, and this really is has to be this year because then you got to pay a quarterback, and then that's $40 to $50 million that goes somewhere else. If Brock Purdy doesn't get the interest from the Niners, who's chasing Brock Purdy down? Any other team? I mean, his numbers are great, but it's always going to be tied to, well, it's Shanahan and Debo, and he's got McCaffrey and Kittle and Trent Williams blocking, and there's a million reasons why people discredit Brock Purdy. It's been the narrative for the past year plus. But I think Brock Purdy, if he agreed that, I'm like a 40 mil type of guy, I think deal gets done quick. But is Brock Purdy in the category of these other guys, 50 to 60?
now, if you look at where Tua is in that category, I'm not saying that they're the same, but you talk about team success and what they mean to the team. The Dolphins felt that he meant $53 million towards them. I would think if you're the 49ers, you don't want to continue to go through all of this.
Again, Tua signing a 4-year deal, $212.4 million, an extension, and it includes $167 million guaranteed. So pretty sweet guaranteed.
When you hear those numbers, don't you feel like that's pretty wild when you think that the guaranteed money is that of a Powerball jackpot? And that's not even the big deal. Like in the NBA, these guys guaranteed money in the NBA are like winning 2 Mega Million or Powerball jackpots. It's awesome. You know what? Hey, makes you just want to train your kid to play sports, right?
And speaking of the Olympics, Rich, just a random question. How are you going to feel, or what's your approach, right? When you're talking sports all day to other friends and they don't seem to care, and all of a sudden they're trying to get your attention talking about the Olympics.
You know, you and I share a sentiment that I don't know if everyone agrees with. Danny G, Iowa Sam.
Like, do you have to listen to them because all of a sudden they're invested in the Olympics? Meanwhile, they don't care about sports the rest of the year?
I just think that the Olympics, I'm not hating on it by any means, but I do think it really tends itself to be watched by the casual person. Like your friend that doesn't really care much about the NBA or NFL.
Yeah,
like
he doesn't want to hear you talk about Senga, but he wants you to listen to him talk about the Olympics.
Did you watch Simone Biles last night?
Yeah, I'm going to dismiss that guy. I'm like, yo, beat it. Anytime I want to talk sports, you're not around. All of a sudden, you want to talk Olympics? I'm gonna dismiss them immediately. I think I'm going to give him an old school talk to the hand.
Are the Olympics the ultimate sports fan celebration, or is it the most casual of sports fan events? I think the second. I think the Olympics tends to lean towards the
all
folks.
Of a sudden your aunt on Facebook is a big sports fan. You're like, what? Get out of here.
Aunt Linda, since when have you cared about swimming?
Yeah, Aunt Linda, your nephew does a sports show every day. You never cared, and now you're talking about it on Facebook.
Okay.
Beat it.